So I'm sharing the screen again. So you can see this is the pitot tube which is in the L shape and placed in the pipe from which where the fluid is flowing from one point to another point. So this pitot tube is basically used to measure the velocity of flow at a point within the pipe or within any channel. So you can see there are two ducts here, two outputs, and there are two pressure heads. You can see there is a difference between the pressure level at first point as well as in between the second point. Second point is showing the stagnation pressure and first point is showing the static pressure. You can see the one end of the pitot tube is open in within the pipe and one point is open to the atmospheric air where the atmospheric pressure is acting on the liquid. So whenever the liquid start moving from the left point to the rightward point and it start entering into these the first opening of the pitot tube and start rising in this pipe, and similarly it is rising in the first open end, that is the static pressure. So the difference in between the static point and the stagnation point is termed as the small h, that is the pressure head at the pitot tube. So let us assume that uh, this point is the from where the liquid has started its journey is the first point, and the second point is taken as the point where it is entering into the pitot tube. So you can see whenever the liquid is flowing at a steady pace from one point to another point, it is having kinetic energy. But as soon as it start entering into the pitot tube, that whole of the kinetic energy is being converted into the pressure energy, and due to that pressure energy, the liquid is rising in the pitot tube. So on this principle, the pitot tube works. That is, as soon as the velocity decreases, that is kinetic energy decreases, it will be converted into the pressure energy. And due to this pressure energy, the liquid is rising into the pitot tube. So pitot tube is basically a glass tube that is bent at a right angle, or you can say it is an inverted L shape, uh, alphabet shape of the pitot tube. And you can see as soon as the velocity is decreasing, the pressure is increasing. You all know that is a conservation principle of energy. That is, energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to the another form. So similar is the principle here. Whenever the velocity of the fluid is decreasing from point 1 to point 2, that is the kinetic energy is decreasing, and as soon as this kinetic energy is decreasing, that energy is being converted into the pressure energy. And due to the this pressure energy, the liquid is or the fluid is rising into the pitot tube. So that rise in the fluid of the pitot tube is generally called a pressure head that is being measured with the pitot tube. So we are measuring the velocity of flow with the help of the pitot tube. Now assuming some terms to find out the expression and to find out the velocity that is being measured with the help of the pitot tube. Let us say pressure at point 1 and 2 are P1 and P2 respectively, and velocity at section 1 and section 2 is V1 and V2. Similarly, the rise of liquid in the tube above the free surface is considered small h, and the depth of the tube in the liquid, that is the point from where you can see the cursor of the mouse, from where uh, the pitot tube has been, the point up to which the pitot tube has been inserted into the liquid. This is called the capital H, and small h is the rise of the liquid above the free surface. So coming on to the again the finding the velocity of flow using this expression and using this instrument, that is pitot tube. Again we are supposing that this pitot tube is being based on the principle of Bernoulli's theorem. That is what Bernoulli's theorem states, that is total head at entry remains equal to total heads at exit. That is the amount of liquid entering into the pipe must remains the amount of liquid leaving the pipe. So there is no loss provided that there should not be any source or sink in between the pipe. Source means there should not be any supply of fluid within the pipe and there should not be any exit of the fluid in between the pipe. So there should be only single entry and single exit, that is one entry point and one exit point to prove the Bernoulli's theorem. So similarly, taking the Bernoulli's theorem as the principle for finding the velocity of flow in the pitot tube, so we have the total head at first point must remains equal to total head at second point. So you can see in the figure that these two, both the points are lying in the, let us say this point is A, or one point, this point is second point. So these 2 points are lying at the same height. So the potential energy remains will be zero or will be cancelled out. So Z1 is equal to Z2, and why we are taking V2 as 0 here? You can see why it is written V2 is equal to 0. V2 means that is velocity at point 2 is 0, because whole of the kinetic energy has been converted into the pressure energy. So there is no velocity in the fluid, there is only pressure energy in the fluid in the form of the weight of the liquid, or in the form of the acceleration due to gravity of the, which is present in the liquid. So this is only due to the pressure energy the liquid is rising into the pitot tube. There is no uh, effect of kinetic energy in the fluid. So we are taking V2 as 0. This is the principle behind this uh, nil value of the velocity, that is V2 is equal to 0, because whole of the kinetic energy has been converted into the pressure energy, and that's why it has risen in between the pitot tube. So putting the value, that is finding the value of pressure head at 0.11 and at 22. So pressure head at 1 will be equal to capital H. That is first point, single point is only the pressure at this point is capital H. That is the pressure in between the pipe up to the point where the pitot tube is inserted within the pipe. So this is H. So this is capital H. You can see the cursor of the mouse. This is the capital H, and the small h is considered as the pressure difference in between the static pressure and the stagnation pressure. So this is small h. So total pressure will become equal to at point 2 is H plus capital H. So at first point the pressure head is capital H only, whereas on the second point where the whole of the kinetic energy is being converted into the pressure energy, the pressure head has risen to amount of value of H plus capital H. At the point, at first point, there is a sum of the energy was the sum of the pressure energy as well as the kinetic energy, because at point 1 the fluid was flowing with some velocity, and it is having some pressure also. So we are having pressure energy and kinetic energy at point 1, whereas at point 2 whole of that kinetic energy, the amount of pressure kinetic energy is also converted into the pressure energy. So pressure energy has risen, so it becomes equal to H plus capital H. So we are putting these values of pressure head at 1 and pressure head at 2, it becomes equal to H plus V1 square by 2G is equal to H plus H. So you can see we have put the value of P1 by rho G here is H, and V2 V1 square by 2G is similarly as per the Bernoulli's equation, and Z1 and Z2 will be cancelled out because both the points are lying at the same height from the datum head or from the reference line. So they can be cancelled out, so there will be no effect of potential energy. Next is the P2 by rho G. We have put the value of P2 by rho G as H plus capital H, and Z2 is no more here. So, and V2 square by 2G component will be 0 because there is no kinetic energy at point 2. Only a single amount of energy is there, that is pressure energy. So it becomes equal to H plus V1 square by 2G is equal to small h plus capital H. So this capital H will be cancelled out from both sides. So it becomes equal to H is equal to V1 square by 2G. So for calculating the value of V1 square, we will take it under root on the right hand side. So V1 becomes equal to under root of 2GH. So this is basically uh, the theoretical velocity which we have calculated by assuming that the flow is steady, uniform, and the fluid is incompressible. But if we are mm, going to calculate the value of the actual velocity, then we have to consider the coefficient of the pitot tube. That is, we have to consider there are some losses due to which the the energy has the small amount of energy has been lost within the flow, that is within the during the conversion of flow from one amount of energy to another amount of energy, and also in between the entry to exit point when the fluid is flowing from entry to exit, and also while rising from the static pressure to the stagnation pressure. So there are some losses. So due to these losses, the actual velocity will be calculated will be less as compared to the theoretical value. So the difference that is the ratio of the theoretical velocity to the actual velocity will be equal to the coefficient of Peter tube. So that is equal to V1 actual becomes equal to coefficient of Peter tube into under root of 2gh. So this is how we'll calculate the value of the actual velocity by using the Peter tube. But if you are considering that the flow is steady and the fluid is incompressible and it is non-viscous, that is there is no effect of viscosity in between the pipe, and we are assuming that there are no losses in between the pipe, so you have to now consider CV as 1, that is 100% efficiency of the fluid. So the theoretical velocity will be equal to only under root of 2gh. So g you always know, that is 9.81 meter per second square, and h is the pressure head, that is a difference in between the static pressure and the stagnation pressure. Okay. So while calculating the actual velocity, it becomes equal to CV into under root of 2gh. That is, we are multiplying the coefficient of Peter tube with the uh, theoretical velocity. So if you want to calculate the value of coefficient of Peter tube, that is CV, then it will be the ratio of the actual velocity to the theoretical velocity, because theoretical velocity will be always be more as compared to the actual velocity, and the value of CV will always be less than 1. It is always be less than 1. This ends your third chapter. That we were left with the last topic of the chapter before our MST. So this was the Peter tube. So now coming to the fourth chapter, I'm sharing the slide. So fourth chapter now. So is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So is it visible that is chapter 4?
Yes, sir.
So in the previous chapter we have read that is flow of fluid. That is how the fluid is being flowing from one point to another point. What are the uh, principles of conservation of masses? That is continuity equation of flow, and total, how we'll calculate the total head, that is Bernoulli's theorem, how the total head remains same from entry to exit. So these were the some topics we have read in the previous chapter. But now in the this chapter 4, that is flow through pipes, we'll study that how the fluid will flow in between the different cross section of pipe. That is how the fluid is flowing. So you can see in the first slide. So there are three types of cross sections area that are available in the market and are readily used in the industry also. You can see first is a circular pipe, second is rectangular, and third one is a combination of both. That is, we are using the half cross section of the circular pipe and half of the rectangular pipe. So the flow that takes place through pipe is generally termed as the flow through pipes, and a pipe is nothing but a closed conduct through which the water flows. You always know that liquid takes the shapes of the container or the pipe through which it is flowing, or the container in which it is being stored. So liquid doesn't have any shape. It takes the shape of the pipe, it takes the shape of the container in which it's stored, or the pipe through which it is flowing from one point to another point. So this is first, you can see this is a circular pipe having some thickness, that is internal diameter as well as external diameter, and its material is having some thickness, and the thickness is equal to the difference between the diameters of the internal diameter as well as the external diameter. Similarly, if you are moving towards the rectangular pipe, you can see there is some length and breadth of the pipe, and it is also having some thickness in the in mm's. Whereas when we are moving with a combination of pipes, that is half cross section is of the circular and half of the rectangular, then it becomes some unsymmetrical or complex shape. Then we have to use the some integral mathematics to calculate the area of that pipe. So when we are studying the flow through pipes, there are some kinds of flow through which the fluid is flowing. First one are the steady flow or the unsteady flow. We have already read these kinds of flows in the previous chapter also, but I am again revising here. So first one are the steady flow and the unsteady flow. The flow in which the what is the steady flow? The flow in which the fluid characteristics like velocity, pressure, density at any point do not change with respect to the time. That is, if you are considering a pipe from which the fluid is flowing and you are measuring the value of the velocity, pressure, or the density, and after a certain time, You again measure these features of the fluid, then that is velocity, pressure, density, then they remain same. So if these value, that is the value of pressure, the value of velocity and density remain same, uh, after a certain interval of time, then this flow is called a steady flow. But if the flow characteristics, these flow characteristics like velocity, pressure, density are changing with respect to change in time, that is they do not remain constant, then that flow is called the unsteady flow. Next is the uniform flow or the non-uniform flow. The flow in which the velocity at any given point does not change with respect to change in the space. That is, if the velocity remains constant with respect to the change in space. That is, if you are measuring the velocity at the entry point and also you are measuring the velocity at the middle point of the pipe, and at the last point of the pipe, the velocity remains same. That is, it does not change with respect to change on the space or the change on the place at which it is being measured. But if it is changing from entry to exit or in between the pipe at any point of the pipe, then that flow becomes a non-uniform flow. In that flow, the derivative of velocity with respect to space doesn't remains constant. So it is does not will be equal to, its derivative will not be equal to zero, because the derivative of constant will always be zero, and it will not be equal to zero if it is not constant. So it is varying with respect to change in the space. So next is the laminar flow and the turbulent flow. You can see the two figures. In the first figure, you can see all the streamlines of the fluid particles are moving in layers, and they are not crossing the path of each other, and they are not moving in the zigzag motion, and they do not mm, crossing each other. They are moving parallel to each other. So they are also not colliding with each other. So you can see all the layers are moving parallel to each other, moving with the same velocity, same pressure, energy, and same steadiness. So that flow is called a laminar flow. Laminar flow. And next is the turbulent flow. So this is the type of flow in which the fluid particles move in the zigzag type. You can see the layers are colliding with each other. They are crossing each other. Their particles are do not move in the layers and crossing the path of each other. Then that flow is called the zigzag flow or the turbulent flow. So you can see whenever there is a storm in the sea or the storm in the canal, that flow becomes a turbulent flow. And whenever there is no rainy season, there is a sunny day, and the canal is moving at a constant speed, then that flow is called a laminar flow. So this is the type of flow in which the fluid particles are moving in the layers, moving in the parallel layers, and they are not crossing the path of the other particles. Next is the wetted parameter. That is, in any open flow channel, you can see wetted parameters. Basically, they are defined whenever you have poured a liquid or any fluid in a beaker, the amount of or the surface on which the liquid is touching the inner portion of that container, this is called the wetted parameter. Like you have filled water into the glass and the glass is half filled. So that whenever you are wanted to calculate the value of the wetted parameter, you have to only consider the surface of the inner surface of the glass which is being filled with the water only. You will leave the portion of the glass which is empty. So this is how we'll measure wetted parameter. That is, it is defined as the surface of the channel bottom and signs in direct contact with the aqueous body. So with an increase of the wetted parameter, that will result in the decrease in the head. As soon as it is increasing, there is a decrease in the total head. That is, it doesn't depends upon the pressure energy and the kinetic energy. It only depends upon the potential energy, that is rise of the liquid in the container, and the amount of the liquid which is being in contact with the inner portion of the pipe will give us the value of the wetted parameter. Next is the hydraulic mean depth. Hydraulic mean depth is basically being measured with the help of the wetted parameter. That is, it is denoted by a small m, and whenever you want to calculate the hydraulic mean depth of any pipe, firstly we are considering the hydraulic mean depth for the circular pipe. And for the circular pipe, you can see it is always equal to, or for any circular pipe, irrespective of its shape, that whether it is rectangular or whether it is combination of two, the ratio of area to the parameter will give us the value of the hydraulic mean depth. It is also called hydraulic radius. That is, it is the ratio of area to the parameter. If you are considering the circular pipe, the area of the cross section will be pi by 4 d square, or you can say pi r square. If you are putting the value of r as d by 2, it becomes equal to pi by 4 d square. Similarly, the parameter of the circular pipe will be 2 pi r or pi d. We are considering in the terms of the diameter. If we have written the area in the terms of the diameter, then we have to write the parameters in terms of the diameter. So if the area is pi by 4 d square, then the perimeter of the circular cross sectional pipe is pi into d, or you can say 2 pi r. So whenever you want to calculate the value of hydraulic mean depth, that is small m, we have to divide the weighted parameter with the area. So area divided by perimeter becomes equal to this pi by 4 d square divided by pi d. So d and d will be cancelled out, and similarly the pi and pi. So the value of hydraulic mean depth small m for the circular pipe is just d by 4. D is what? D is the diameter of the circular pipe of which you are calculating the hydraulic mean depth. So hydraulic mean depth is only be considered whenever that pipe is filled with the liquid. That liquid may be mercury or water or honey. So that any kind of liquid is being filled with the pipe, then only you can calculate the hydraulic mean depth. So it is also dependent that that pipe is fully filled or half filled. We will study in our next classes that how we'll calculate the hydraulic mean depth if the pipe is filled fully, or it is filled half, or it is filled in the any quarterly. So it is just the hydraulic mean depth for the circular pipe. The formula remains same, but we have to consider the area as a parameter in which the liquid is in contact internally to the surface of the pipe. So hydraulic mean depth will be the area for a section of water in a pipe or the channel divided by the wetted parameter. That formula remains same, but the cross-section area and the wetted parameter from where the liquid is in contact with the inner portion of the pipe, that will be changed when we are calculating for the fully filled pipe or half filled pipe. So any student having doubt, any doubt?